Hey friends, welcome back to the channel of the Devil Brigade. This is the Canadian and the American forces learning what it's like to fight in 1942 as the Devil's Brigade. In the last episode, if you haven't checked it out, be sure to check that out right now and then come back to this one. Otherwise, right now they're going to be learning what it's like to be free falling 11,000 feet from the sky, not on a static line. As well, they're going to be learning how to navigate through booby traps or IEDs and what it's like in modern day versus back in 1942. So stick around.
Like, let's say, yeah, exactly.
The instructors have given the squad a simple task: cross this field. But hidden in the grass are tripwires and booby traps, the sort of IEDs the Devil's Brigade faced.
We was going out on patrol one night, and the first guy in the line stepped on a foot mine and blew his foot off. Now, sometime they snuck in there and put that mine there on a path that we knew that they was pretty sure that we used, you know. Let's face it, they wasn't dumb either, you know, and almost anything they'd booby trap if they had time to do it. And they'd done a lot of it, especially when they'd retreat.
So you see the stick that he's using right now. So you could use anything. You could use a typical rod or a stick. But what he's doing is that below it, there's actually a tripwire. So he's trying to feel around. And what the technique is basically when you have it free floating in front of you and you're walking, as well as having your other hand on the rifle or the machine gun, depending on whatever you're using, that will actually tilt towards you. So that will actually indicate that there's something in front of you. So if you were to just not use anything, maybe you accidentally run into a tripwire, you can't feel that on your pant leg, you can't feel that on the blouse of your boots, or like any with leather. It's very challenging to feel that kind of stuff. So having a kind of like a tilt switch or tilt rod in front of you can help kind of navigate through a certain terrain as well. And anything like goat pass, that kind of stuff was always a booby trap throughout. Even in Afghanistan, like we had a bunch of like local maneuvers that we had to go around certain villages and such. And there's a lot of pressure mines, as an example, or IEDs with pressure plates, if you will. We unfortunately had some Canadian casualties as well as a bunch of American casualties as well because of these things. They're very challenging to detect, and as simple as basically having two thin like pieces of metal with a little piece of rubber in the middle, and then they duct tape the crap out of it, and they just have two lines going around the wall. And then if you were to actually casually step onto that pressure plate, it would activate the actual ID around the wall and blast you from the side. So some pretty nasty stuff the Taliban has done. I always said if Canadians and Americans were allowed to booby trap the Taliban, man, like it'd be a complete game changer. But obviously we can't do that.
Albert Boucher is a master warrant officer in the Canadian Forces who served in Afghanistan. Despite the technology today's special forces use to find IEDs, the modern battlefield is as deadly as ever. And the rules of survival are the same as they were in the Second World War. Trust your training. Hope you're lucky.
Pressure release. Go around it.
Albert Boucher, a 40-year-old father of 7, put his life on the line to go to Afghanistan.
People often question me about, what were my thoughts on deploying overseas and should we be there? And well, it's not my decision to be there, but what I will tell you is that as a soldier, as a person, I can see the changes that have occurred. There's hope, there's a sense of development, and as a person, as a soldier, as a citizen of the free world, I think that's a good thing. And I think we should be there.
As early as the 16th century in Italy, Leonardo da Vinci was sketching and designing parachutes. But it's only about 10 years since the Russians began to take the parachute seriously as a weapon of attack.
Vigorous training, hazardous duty, for those who want to get into the war quickly. This was how the Devil's Brigade sold itself when it went looking for recruits. And there's no faster way to get into a war than jumping in, feet first.
28 men can get out of an aircraft as fast as 18 seconds. There's waves and waves coming over. In other words, there's people jumping right over top of you, and you can steal each other's air, and you can plummet right in like a tent peg. So everything is mental alertness, and you don't have time to daydream, period.
The parachute training the brigade received was rudimentary at best, non-existent at worst.
Okay, there's a few things we want to cover this afternoon. We'll do some flight trainer. We'll talk about the equipment. Then we'll talk about how to collapse a chute because it didn't have canopy release on the equipment itself. And then we'll move all the way down there where the mock-up is and do some aircraft drill.
In 1942, the U.S. Army Jump School lasted about a month. In the Devil's Brigade, it lasted a few days. You jumped twice, and if you could walk away, you were qualified.
The parachutist came up to approximately here with the static line. We'll let it go. Static line would go there. He would kept on going. Jump master would take control of it. He would square himself up, feet apart, nice and relaxed. And when you jump, be careful there. Jump straight out, and away you go. Go!
Basically, you didn't have time. They just had little mock-up towers, and they told you how to put a chute on, how to collapse a chute, about what height should be. You jump out of these mock-up towers to get on the ground. Then they put you on the back of a truck and put the gate down, and you jump off the back of the truck doing about 18 miles an hour, and that's about how you'll get it when you get down. And you didn't have time. Within a week, you'd done your jump.
I've seen that multiple times in many different videos of like just literally jumping off the back of a pickup truck. And like, you got what you got, right? Like if your country can only afford certain things for training and you're in the middle of a war, you have what you have and you just got to put up with it. I know that a lot of Canadians actually went over to Europe to go actually learn how to fly the kites and how to or the aircraft and also how to parachute as well. Americans, they like jump Foley and a bunch of other places where they did a lot of training as well. But yeah, it just seems so silly to see, but it is what it is back then.
You done your first jump within a week. You didn't have time to think about it.
I don't think I was scared. I think maybe I was more curious. But standing in the line, I think I was more concerned with the fact that I was checking the guy ahead to see his equipment was okay. The guy behind was checking my equipment, and I checked my hook on the cable. And when it came time to go, it was bang, 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 we're gone.
I had no idea what was going on, frankly. You don't know what's going to happen next. You know, kind of got your fingers crossed, but all of a sudden, poof, your parachute opens and you say to yourself, geez, this is pretty nice, and float down.
Reserve.
All these soldiers have their parachute wings. Some have jumped into combat. But there are other men in the squad who've never jumped before. Today, they'll get their chance.
I'm starting to get the butterflies a little bit. You know, it's the first time jumping, of course, like the rest of the guys, but I'm sure we're all going to be scared. But when I go to jump out of the plane, that's going to, really, when it's going to hit me in the stomach, I get the major butterflies before any big event.
The key is with any of these canopy issues is number one, altitude awareness. Okay, so as soon as you get open, check your altitude.
Jay Budd, the Green Beret, has done almost 100 jumps. Many of them what Special Forces call halo jumps. High altitude, low opening.
Distorting the nose a little bit, okay? The key is with this is to do it.
Jay has brought the men to a parachute school to do their first jump.
If things go wrong in free fall, you just have to remember to arch. Sometimes on their first jump, when people jump, then they try to de-arch a little bit, and when you happen to de-arch, then your problems become worse, and that's when you could possibly tumble and all that. So basically, if things go wrong up there, you just have to arch it out, and that should stabilize you.
A little bit of leg, a little bit more legs here, a little bit more legs. There you go, perfect. Okay, exit.
When the brigade jumped, they didn't have time to arch it out. The men left the aircraft at 1,000 feet without a reserve. If the main chute failed, they were dead. The danger to these men is less, but the challenge the same. Do they have the guts to jump? Albert Boucher is certain that he does.
9,000 feet, check left, check right.
Wait, whoa. Did you see anything for me?
Nope.
Okay, thanks.
Check right.
There we go.
Thumbs up, heading, 7,000 feet.
I've bungee jumped before and scuba dived, so I just and lead climbed there a couple days ago, so I just want to do it. I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, I'd like to just jump. I don't want to wait around too long. I just want to try it.
No mosquitoes up here, eh? Yeah, right? Hey? I've been rolling with the Canadians too long.
Old soldiers have a saying, courage is a mystery which comes and goes in moments of action, accidents of choice. On this day, these young soldiers have all chosen to be courageous. They volunteered to do their very first jump, not on a static line, but free fall from 11,000 feet. Chris Bird, the sniper, is first to go. He barely pauses. Andrew Rowe, the 19-year-old from Nova Scotia, shows why the squad calls him the fighting fetus. Angelo Gadola says a quick prayer and trusts that somebody is actually listening. And finally, it's Albert Boucher's turn. Albert has traveled a long way in his military career, from his regiment in Saskatoon to the mountains of Afghanistan to the skies over Montana. Life, he says, is one big adventure.
Freefall is awesome, and I wish it would last longer because you're concentrating on your drills and it just seems to go quick. You can feel like all of a sudden the air got warm, and you thought, okay, I must be getting close now. It was about 7,000, and then 6 lock on and then pull. It was pretty cool. I had a good time. And then when I wanted to mess around with the chute there, because it was a pretty good feeling when you're under the canopy, spinning around there. That was awesome.
With his first jump behind him, Albert is ready for more. He's the type of soldier who'd have been at home in the brigade. Smart and brave, with just a touch of crazy. For almost a month, these men have trained as hard as they ever have before. They've run and climbed, fought and bled. All of it to prepare for the mission which made the Devil's Brigade a legend.
Okay, guys, 21 days of training has finally come to an end. You've been going through all kinds of training day and night. We obviously lost a couple people. That's part of the training. Now it's time to move on to the next phase. You all know that there was something that you were not told, and this is what we're about to reveal. Just grab the corner. This was the area where the Devil's Brigade became so famous. And this is what you've been training for. Your mission will obviously be to do exactly what they did way back then in '43.
The Devil's Brigade assault on Mount Defensa was one of the most daring strategic victories of the Second World War. The Germans held the peaks. The Allies wanted them. And wave after wave of infantry died trying to take the mountain. The 1st Special Service Force took Defensa in just a few hours.
was always the most stunning thing about Afghanistan is that whenever you were there, you'd be on one side of the mountain and it'd be completely just desert as far as the eye can see. And then you look on the other side of the mountain and be completely lush, green farm fields. It's amazing what the like where the sun is and where the sets and just like where most of the water kind of accumulates, that kind of stuff. But every single time, every single evening, is always a very beautiful sunset. Every single day, like it was always beautiful weather, nice evenings, nice and calm. Of course, unless you're being mortared or rocketed, which we were quite a little bit, but it can be very peaceful when things aren't chaotic.
Joe Glass from Sarnia was one of the first men to reach the top. Lauren Whaling, Joe's best friend, was close behind. And Mark Radcliffe, a young lieutenant from Texas, helped plan the assault. These 3 men survived what was thought to be a suicide mission. They are the human face of courage.
I was with 3rd Regiment, and we were in a gully down below here. We were sitting in there waiting till we might be needed, and all of a sudden, right up above me, a mortar round goes off. I yelled the command to get down and hit the dirt. Well, just as I'm doing that, a round hit right almost in front, not too far away, and I got a piece of shrapnel right between the eyes sticking out, about that big. And I didn't know I had it. It was numb. And they took me down to the aid station down below. And the doctor walked up and he feels around on it and his hands are going like this. And I says, "What are you shaking for?" I says, "I'm the patient." He says, "But you're my first." That's how I started the war. That's the first time I hadn't fired a shot.
The next day, we had to go all the way up here, right up in here, where they put the ropes up in the cliffs. And we went up. The bowl seems to be small there, but we come up right here. And we attacked. And took us 2 hours to take that out. We took all these guys out. We lost a few men, quite a few men, in fact. We done a good job, real good job up here. How can you explain combat? If you've never been in combat, you know you can't explain it. So we just had a good fight, got it over in 2 hours. I lost my company commander and a few good friends. And a guy hit me in the face and the hand. It hit my little finger right there with a bullet. And then it hit the rock and it splattered rock on my face and I couldn't see out of my right eye. So I moved over, got behind this rock about this high. And this one guy, the last guy, he never gave up. And my company commander come up one side of me and Sid Gath on the other. And he said, "How's things going, Joe?" And I said, "Okay." I said, "But whatever you do, don't stick your head above this rock till we get that guy." I was planning on getting some grenades and getting them out the easy way. Because you couldn't, he was a real good marksman. He hit several guys. But they both raised their head at the same time and he got both of them through the brains. The brains splattered out in the ground. So I moved over and talked to Don McKinnon. And he was there and he said, "Jesus, Joe, I'm scared." I said, "Hell, we're all scared. Have a cigarette." I wanted a cigarette bad. So I lit up 2 cigarettes and I borrowed 2 grenades and it was only 25 feet away from us.
If you're like, you think you can handle things and you can go to the war and you're not a smoker, majority of the time you're going to become one by the time you're ending it, because when you're being mortared, shot at, blown up, IED'd, just things going off, friends are just dying all the time, comrades are dying. it takes a toll on your nerves. And by the time you go back, you try to decompress. That's why like smoking was so good. I tried my best to like not smoke cigarettes, and a lot of the guys had a lot of like Indian smokes from back home, which are just a lot cheaply made, a little bit cheaper to buy off the reserves, things like that. And some guys are just chain smokers. They just like have one after another the entire tour. Luckily for us, like they're at the American PX that was in CAF, once in a while we'd be able to get like a good carton. And the only perk about that was that there wasn't so much tax on it. It was, I think that they actually removed a lot of the tax from that, and you just purchased the actual like the carton itself. So that was really kind of nice while being there. But me, I had like Captain Black small stogie cigars, and that was always like nice to have like at least one of those every evening, or one or two every single evening. And I don't convey like smoking, guys. It is kind of like, unless you go through it and your nerves are shot. The reality is like you might be hit the next day, and you're not maybe coming back home. You need something to kind of keep yourself like on alert and be able to like calm those nerves to keep on fighting.
So you know how close we were. It was easy to get a grenade in there, but I didn't have any. But I got two of them, I think Sid Gath or Rothman, who were both dead. And then we tried to get them out, and I don't know who got them. But it didn't matter, he was the last guy. But he'd already killed my commanding officer and one of my best friends.
In Defensa's shadow lie the men who died on that brave but terrible morning. Americans and Canadians. Men like Joe's friend, Sid Gath, a farm boy from Manitoba. After the war, Joe, Lauren, and Mark came back to Montana, where they each settled down and lived in peace.
Being a soldier, you're willing to lay your life down for what you believe in, especially if defending your country or freedom. And the soldiers are always in a brotherhood. So with that in mind, I mean, we each have those common qualities or common interests just to be here to, represent them and honor them. So I think there's a pretty damn strong bond between us. And it's incredible to see, we met 3 of them were members of the Devil's Brigade, and that was kind of amazing. You're meeting these old men, and they've lived their lives out, and they're having trouble walking, but then you see it in their eyes, and I told some of the guys, like, you walk up to them and you shake their hand, and they still have that firm grip. And I mean, the one gentleman, I can't remember his name offhand, but his hand was huge, and his fingers extended up my wrist, and I was like, wow. I'm glad I wasn't on the receiving end of this guy when World War II was going on. But you see it in their eyes that they're proud that they were part of it, and they're even more proud that somebody's willing to represent them here. Where's his box, eh?
As any soldier will tell you, the real work of Army life begins when the training ends.
I can't put it down. Did you get my frags? No, not yet.
And for this squad, there's plenty of work to do before they leave for Italy.
As far as getting ready for our mission in Italy on Defensa, I think we've come a long way, and I think that the training we did here in the mountains is really going to help us to accomplish our mission overseas. We're really starting to mesh, I think, and all these guys have what it takes to do real missions. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate going on a real mission with any of these guys.
And Defensa will be a mission to test them, because the men will face an actual opponent.
Gut, grundsätzlich zur Orientierung, diese Richtung Norden, diese Richtung ist Rom.
A unit of veteran German soldiers has made camp on the summit. And if the men are to do what the Devil's Brigade did to defeat the Germans, they'll have to climb Defensa's cliffs. Something which has Brian Haynes worried.
The climbing that we've been training on is really making it hit home about the climb that we have ahead of us at Defensa. We've done all of 4 days of training and climbing. And we're all, including myself with my fear of heights, we're all doing pretty good. as far as getting up the rock face. But we still have, we don't have the kind of experience that I think is probably necessary for a climb as big as I'm hearing Mount Defensa is.
Brian's instincts may be right. The assault on Defensa will be like nothing the men have ever done. To reach the Germans, the squad must climb to the top of this 3,000-foot-high mountain, crossing ridges and boulder fields as they do. But the real test will come on Defensa's cliffs. If they're to live up to the legend of the Devil's Brigade, Brian and the rest of the men must climb these cliffs at night. Next on Devil's Brigade, contact.
I was scared. And I think the only way I got over it was action. I did something.
Different men have different reactions. My reaction was I got a coppery taste in my mouth.
The 1st Special Service Force takes the mountain, but at a terrible cost.
I saw Captain Rothland go down to accept the surrender, and the Germans shot him. Instantly, the word went out, we don't need any prisoners.
And the squad finds climbing the cliffs harder than they ever could have imagined.
This is not safe. Someone's gonna get killed.
Did you know that more than 80% of my viewership are not subscribed? So if you could do me a favor, I commit to you that I'll be doing the best content. I can make myself available to you and get better and better. If you like and subscribe, we'll be getting more content out to viewers and be able to grow this channel into what we could probably get it into the next year. So with your help, it would be really appreciative. Thank you so much for watching. There's a lot of history buffs here. I'm also one of them, and I just love this community. It's been just amazing content, amazing people, amazing feedback, and because of you, I'm able to do this. So thank you again, and I can't wait to do the next one with you guys.